Hello, good evening. Greetings, everyone, from wherever you are joining us, maybe here on our continent of Africa or further afield. It's once again a warm welcome from us down here in Pretoria. I hope this finds you well, and with the month of September having begun, I hope that we are ready to work on our goals for this month. So for those of you who are joining us maybe for the first few times, I'd like to introduce myself. My name is Betty Oloo, a long-time Neolife distributor, and always very glad to be able to spend this time with you, talking about our products, our business, and how to position ourselves so that we are better able to assist those who come to us in the course of doing our business. So I would like to invite you to relax for the next 1 hour to spend this time with us. And as always, we very much appreciate you are spending this time and your data joining us for this training, which we always try very much to make sure that adds value to you as you do your business. So as you might have seen in your invite for today's training, I'm going to be speaking about one of the many unfortunate things that we find as we go about our business, and that is substance abuse, also referred to as SUD, substance use disorder. So just to introduce it and then give some background information, whether this substance use disorder is being dealt with by professionals or by charitable organizations or even in homes by individuals, it is important that we as distributors have a certain amount of knowledge about how our products can be of use to people who are going through these circumstances. So there is stigma, as I'm sure most of us realize, attached to substance use disorder. But as distributors, our part is not so much to make moral judgment about what a person is doing, but to place ourselves in a position to offer help, information, as well as product to a person who has committed to recovery. So recovery is a term that is used when a person decides to stop the abuse or the use of these substances. So going on to some background information, so substance use can be described as periodic excessive use of a given substance, medication, or drug. So the substance itself will vary from person to person, but the characteristic is the excessive use. Then this can, of course, lead in some cases to addiction, and this is referred to as the compulsive or obsessive drug-seeking and drug-using behavior in spite of serious adverse consequences. So we don't come straight from substance abuse into addiction, but of course one can be what precedes the other. So substance abuse will precede addiction in some cases. And the characteristic of addiction is that there is seeking the substance that one is addicted to, in spite of there being serious adverse consequences, such as maybe loss of a job, breakdown of relationships, maybe financial ruin, and so on. Then going on with background information, there's also what is referred to as substance dependence. So this is a process by which the body comes to rely on the substance in order to feel a certain way. So in order to feel relaxed, a person who is dependent on a substance could be relying on it to feel relaxed. So maybe you may have had someone who says that they need to take a glass or two of wine or other types of alcohol in order to relax. And they feel really unable to relax without this addition to their life. There can be physical dependence, where the body relies on a substance to function normally. There can also be logical dependence, which is where there is emotional or mental reliance or preoccupation with the substance that is being used. So this continues even after the person has started trying to recover from the habit. So it's simply that psychologically they have become reliant on this substance in order to normalize their state of being or their life, and they feel emotionally negative emotions when they're not able to use. And in fact, they may even feel a certain emptiness when they're not either seeking or using the substances. Then the next terminology is what is called substance withdrawal. And this occurs when a person decides to stop abusing a substance. And this termination of the use of the substance often results in an unpleasant or even dangerous symptoms, which are referred to as withdrawal symptoms. So the symptoms can be acute and will occur soon after the substance use has been discontinued. And it can include various things depending on the substance and the person. So there can be shaking, sweating, vomiting, seizures. And this can in fact be so severe that it is life-threatening, especially if the addiction or abuse was deep-seated and has been taking place for a long time. Then what may happen is that the withdrawal symptoms can be so severe that it threatens the person's life and may require hospitalization. Then the next terminology I have here is what is called the turning point. So turning point is a point when a person truly wants to and commits to eliminating the substance abuse as a coping mechanism. So it is a very personal thing, and it's not really possible to enforce it from outside. It is important that to understand that no intervention can succeed in the long term before a person reaches that turning point when they themselves are fed up with the life of abusing the substance. So, of course, there can be adverse situations or consequences that speed up reaching the turning point. So, this will differ with different persons and different circumstances. But for some people, even those severe consequences may not bring them to the turning point. For others, maybe just one unpleasant consequence can lead to the turning point. So again, it differs from person to person, but just to know that this point is very important for long-term success in terminating the substance use disorder, because then the person is more likely to be truly committed to stopping the behavior. Okay, then the next terminology I wanted to share is substance detoxification, which is a process of eliminating the substance and its residues from the body in order to start recovery. So many of the substances, usually maybe they are chemical ones or they could be medications and so on, they will accumulate in certain organs in the body, and even after the stoppage of use, there may be still residues remaining in the body, and it will be necessary for the body to get rid of any remnants or residues that are still in there. So that is what is meant by substance detox. And then the other one is recovery, which is a process of recovering from dependence or from addiction. The process of recovery is not necessarily straightforward because there may be relapses. The relapse does not necessarily mean that the person has abandoned recovery altogether. This is why I'm saying that recovery is not a straight upward line where the person makes up their mind to stop the substance seeking or substance abusing behavior, but rather they have actually reached the turning point, but as a result of maybe craving or influence from companions who are also in the same habit, they may find that they relapse into the behavior they had left behind. So the relapse can be a prolonged resumption, or it can be a short one. It may be just one instant, or it can be that the person falls back into the substance abuse. once recovery had already started. So once a person reaches a turning point, a lot of support and encouragement is crucial, and also understanding from maybe their loved ones or their circle of maybe family or whatever it may be. They will need this in order to help them to continue, especially after a relapse, because the relapse can be very, very discouraging, and there may be a feeling of failure. And so the support of those who are helping the recovering person, maybe encouragement and so on, can help with this. Of course, a lot of times the people in the close circle of the person who is addicted or who is abusing substances, they themselves may also be undergoing a lot of stress and a lot of emotional difficulties, making them not entirely able to give the support that is required, especially if this has been going on for a long time and there has been many efforts to try to help the person in recovery. But nonetheless, the person in recovery does need encouragement and support so that they keep on the path of recovery, which unfortunately it's much easier to fall into the habit of substance use disorder than to recover from it. So, and even after the recovery has progressed well, there can be what is called post-addiction withdrawal symptoms, which are a kind of low-grade withdrawal symptoms that continue for long periods, even after the abuse has been stopped. So it can include some kind of mood disorders like depression. There can be irritability, or there can be lethargy. And this can be because a lot of time used to be spent in seeking the substance, using the substance, and going on this cycle over and over again. So that once the substance is no longer a part of the person's life, they may feel empty and irritated and lacking in energy, and may even feel that things are not worthwhile because everything seems very dull. So this again means that it's always good for a person in recovery to be in a circle that can help them to keep on track for long-term success. Things like exercise and a healthy diet, of course, will reduce the duration and the severity of these post-addiction withdrawal symptoms, because they can help people, the person who was maybe addicted, to find other ways in which to occupy themselves and find meaning in life in less destructive ways. Then now I want to turn my attention to the ways in which the way in which substance use disorder can be detrimental to our health, more especially in terms of where our products can come in. So I've got a few points to mention here. One of them is the nutrient deficiency that is associated with substance abuse. And there are a number of ways in which these deficiencies can come about. They include this one. So, for example, there can be poor food choices due to various reasons. It could be because of money problems, because someone who is addicted or heavily using a substance will always try to keep their money for buying the substance rather than for getting good nutritional food. So they may find that they are short of money because a lot of the money that they have is going towards the substance they are abusing. It could also be due to poor appetite, caused also by the use of or abuse of these substances. Or it can also be due to food preferences that may be personal or may be brought on by the drugs or whatever it is that they are abusing. It can also be due to ignorance, that the person simply does not know that it is important that they also look after their nutritional needs. So another way, apart from poor food choices, can be that some of the substances that are abused can deplete the nutrients from the body, because the body is constantly trying to detox from these substances that are being abused, because of course they are toxic to the body. And even though they may have effects that we may not necessarily think are toxic, they are toxic by their very nature. which means that the body is going to be using several types of things in order to neutralize and eliminate those substances. And this, of course, is going to deplete the relevant substances that the body is using for detox. In addition to that, there can also be the substance being abused can drive craving of certain unhealthy foods, which are negative towards the health. And for example, one that tends to be craved is sugar and sugary drinks or sugary foods or things like that. So this can mean that the body is getting a lot of a substance that is actually negative to nutrition. Then another way in which nutrient deficiency comes in is that the abused substance can also be interfering with nutrient absorption in the gut, because some of these substances also irritate the gut, and when the gut is irritated, its ability to digest and absorb nutrients can also be reduced. The final one I have here, but not of course these are not the only ones, but another thing is that the abused substance can cause the body to flush out useful nutrients. So the inflammation or irritation of the gut can actually lead to loss of nutrients because the substance that is being abused is causing that loss. So then other issues that are related to substance use disorder will be certain illnesses that lead to or can result from substance abuse. These include mood disorders. So examples of mood disorders are things like bipolar mood disorder, which I think is the same one that used to be referred to as manic depression, where the person can go into a state of being highly excited or extremely depressed by turns. There can also be clinical depression, in which a person goes into very low, dark moods where they feel a loss of the energy for life, and they may go through states of being very sad and very uninterested in the normal things that keep life interesting and exciting, and that help us to actually strive towards the good things of life. Another group that falls here is anxiety disorder, where this is another kind of illness that can be brought about or can be the result of substance use. So anxiety disorders can be general anxiety, a feeling of general anxiety, or there can be panic attacks that the person feels bouts of panic for no apparent reason. There can also be OCD, those symptoms, obsessive compulsive disorder. And there can even be PTSD, where there is a certain kind of agitation and feelings of suspicion and fear and so on. The substance abuse can also precipitate certain illnesses that maybe there is a genetic predisposition towards. So, for example, if there is a genetic predisposition to schizophrenia, then substance abuse can actually precipitate it. Because remember, as we've said on previous occasion, the fact that you have a genetic predisposition for certain kinds of condition does not mean it will happen. But certain things can actually be the pull the trigger on it, so that the genetic predisposition becomes an actual condition that now exists. Another thing to mention here, that if someone has, for some reason, a painful illness or painful injuries that requires continuous use of strong medication, this can actually precipitate to excessive substance abuse or the use of the prescription drugs that is being used, because the person becomes very dependent on them and can easily progressively increase the doses or graduate to other types of drugs. Another one is childhood trauma. There can have been some traumatic event that happened in childhood and that was not resolved and therefore internalized. And in later life, it can predispose a person to substance abuse, because traumas will happen to us. This is a part of our life in the world. But it is important that all effort is made to resolve the trauma in time so that it does not have lingering effects that can return later in life or under certain circumstances. Then I also finally wanted to mention that abuse of a socially acceptable substance can lead to the abuse of something stronger or something less stigmatized. So, for example, someone might stop using prescription medication and start using food as so they eat a lot of a certain kind of food, maybe junk food, sugary food, and so on, because there is a craving to use something, and they find that using foods might be less stigmatized than maybe using cannabis or something else. So these are all things that are linked to substance use disorder. But now let me turn my attention to our Neolife products and how they can assist with this situation, keeping in mind that, as I mentioned, the products, I'll try also to include how they help, because there are a number of products and it's not necessarily possible for a person to buy all of them. But by knowing how they help, we can decide which ones to recommend for the specific person we have. So the first I wanted to mention is Formula 4, which is our broad spectrum supplement that will help to bridge nutritional gaps of all kinds. So I think that it can also be an affordable choice, and it can be easier for a person who is in recovery to take just one capsule. So if there's, for one reason or another, they only want one item, then Formula 4 will be a good choice because it will give small amounts of nutrition. Another product we can recommend is omega-3 salmon oil, which is very useful because we know it is one of the brain-friendly foods, and it helps the brain tissue to repair itself and to protect itself. It also helps resolve the systemic inflammation that is associated with substance abuse, and it improves brain function, learning, as well as memory. Because, as you know, quite a number of the substances that are abused because of what they do to the mind. But when we do strange things to the mind, we may be harming the mind. And so omega-3 salmon oil will play an important role there, as well as the fact that it will help to blunt the edge of withdrawal symptoms and of craving, the craving that comes when the person is no longer using the substance. I would also recommend, as in third position, vitamin B complex, which is often deficient in people who are abusing substances, because many substances interfere with the absorption of vitamin B and also deplete it. Because vitamin B, the B family, are used in very many processes in the body. And if someone is abusing substances, you will find that vitamin B will be in great demand for detoxing, and also for helping to improve moods, to give a positive mood, which is very important during recovery. Vitamin B also is important in energy production, so that the person does not feel lethargic and feel the need to find something to stimulate themselves. So B complex, another very important one. Then the other one that I recommend is magnesium complex. So magnesium is one of the mineral nutrients which alcohol causes the body to flush out. So the heavy intake of alcohol causes the body to flush magnesium out of the system. And therefore, people who heavily use this may find that they have got low amounts of magnesium in their systems. And magnesium is very, very important. Also, just like vitamin B complex, magnesium is used in many, many different processes in the body. And it also has got many positive effects, including reducing anxiety, helping in sleep and relaxation, which is something that a person who is in recovery will appreciate, because one of the things is that they struggle with sleep, they struggle to relax, they may feel agitated from time to time. So magnesium quite helpful there. It will help, therefore, to reduce drug dependence and help the person to kick their dependence on the substance. And it's another one that will help in reducing the severity of withdrawal symptoms. Then we also recommend chelated zinc, which is another one that is depleted by drugs of different kinds, especially drugs that are used against pain. So strong pain medication tend to deplete chelated zinc in the system. So it would be useful to, if a person is for maybe an illness or an injury is using pain medication, then chelated zinc, it would be something they want to keep in mind for supplementation. It helps, the deficiency of chelated zinc worsens anxiety and can also worsen cravings. So chelated zinc will be a useful one against that. Then vitamin C, also another very important supplement. This vitamin helps reduce inflammation and it helps in detoxing. As well, it helps in the healing of tissues in the body. It helps the body to stabilize, to produce mood stabilizing hormones, because our bodies are actually able to produce hormones that improve our mood, and vitamin C assists in this process. Again, vitamin C will reduce the severity of withdrawal symptoms. Then we have vitamin D. So vitamin D helps against the three top problems of post-addiction withdrawal symptoms. So vitamin D will help against depression. It will help against inability to sleep, that is insomnia, as well as anxiety. These three are tend to accompany people who are in withdrawal. They will struggle to sleep. They will struggle with the depression, and also they may also have inexplicable anxiety that causes them to panic and feel very uncomfortable. So vitamin D, which we can get through supplementation, or spending time in the sun is also good with us, a good amount of skin exposed. This can be that the person can take walks in the sun, and by so doing can get exercise and also vitamin D at the same time. But where that is not possible, for example, because the person may not be able to resist the temptation to seek drugs, then, or for other reasons, maybe they live in a place where the climate or the circumstances do not permit sun exposure in the amount that is required, then we would supplement with vitamin D or vitamin A plus D. Deficiency of vitamin D is associated with mood disorders and poor health. So vitamin D also will help with those suffering from the different mood disorders that we've mentioned, whether it is due to substance abuse or due to other reasons. So spending time in the sun or taking vitamin D, all very good for our health and for our state of mind. Finally, I want to include the New Life Shake. New Life Shake will help to restore calmness by helping to dissipate stress hormones. Remember that when we are abusing substances, we are going to be putting the body under stress. Stress because of the tampering with our minds. Stress also because of trying to get rid of these substances, and stress because of dealing with those around us who are not pleased with the effects that these substances are having. So the stress hormones are going to be high, and by the use of New Life Shake, we can help to dissipate these stress hormones and normalize things so that, that we reduce the tendency of a person in recovery to be agitated. New Life Shake will also help against sugar cravings, which is a common problem in recovery. And the good thing is that New Life Shake is going to give them the broad range of amino acids that helps in tissue repair, helps in, for example, gut health, and so on. Then, of course, the amino acids we get from New Life Shake will boost mental energy, help in repairing our brain tissue, and help the body to produce its own natural mood elevating hormones, which, as I said, when we are under normal conditions, our own brain is actually able to produce mood elevating hormones that make us feel happy. Maybe you have noticed people who like to jog or do different exercises, they feel a kind of happiness or excitement when they are maybe hiking or jogging or swimming or whatever. This is because those types of things actually help the body to produce these mood elevating hormones. Unfortunately, when we start tampering with our minds, then these are some of the things that the body starts to produce in smaller and smaller amounts, because we are depending more and more on the substance that we are introducing. So as the person starts to undergo recovery and withdrawal, it would be a good thing that they've got a good supplement like Neolife Shake, especially because they may also have poor appetite, or they may be unwilling or unable to eat nutritious foods. So again, their Neolife Shake will assist. So I think I shall leave you with that. It is a distressing condition, which unfortunately is becoming more and more common in our societies. But as Neolife distributors, we will not flinch from helping where our help is needed, and educating where education and information is needed. And so I hope that the session today has been beneficial and will assist you when you're coming across people who have this situation and have now committed to turning their lives around, that our products may help them to succeed. So let me now wish you all the best as we proceed with the month of September, which is moving very, very fast. I can't believe we are almost at the middle of it. But of course, with every passing day, we have an opportunity to go out and make a